Welcome back, and to talk to us more about the significance of the 30th of June revolution, we're joined over the phone by Dr. Hassan Waguih, a professor of political science at Al-Azhar University. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon to you and to all the people.
Thank you, sir, for joining us.
Thank you.
After 9 years of the revolution, to what extent Egypt has succeeded when it comes to asserting its role regionally in the African continent and in the Arab world?
Yes, I think this is a very good memory to celebrate. We remember that we have stopped the brotherhoodizing, making the country so divided, trying to establish militia instead of the army and the militia instead of the police. And there could have been terrible chaos in the country. But the Egyptian people and the current Egyptian leadership confronted that in a very decisive way, and they paved the way for our country to develop and to achieve its very well-deserved status among all the nations. And Egypt restored a lot when it comes to its role. Egypt is a role country by nature, and hopefully also it is a resource country, inshallah.
How do you evaluate the change in foreign policy for Egypt in the last 8 years or so?
Yes, the change is very clear. You know, it is very important to recognize that Egypt's foreign policy has constant and basic pillars. And the most important pillar is to establish balance, a balanced relationship with all countries, and balanced relationship that would achieve stability and sustainable development in the country, and extending hands for right causes in our world.
After the June 30th revolution, Egypt had faced a certain amount of instability and, a certain amount of lack of security because of terrorism. But since then, things have gotten much, much better. To what extent do you think that the Egyptian government was able to deal with terrorism here in Egypt?
Yes, after the revolution, after we had two revolutions, 25th of January and 30th of June, and in both we tried to have a better country. But after the 30th of June, we witnessed real, more threatening terrorist acts. And actually, the 25th of revolution became very peaceful against corruption. But again, those people who are really wanted bad things and bad intention for the country, they launched chaos and terrorist acts. This continued after the 30th of June, and Egypt took the burden of fighting terrorism, not only for Egypt, but for the entire Arab region and the world. So I think we succeeded in containing these terrible violent acts, and we paved the way for a much more stable country, much more on the direction for building an advanced country as we all dream of.
The President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, since taking office, him and his government have been in pursuit of major economic reforms within the country. As far as the economic reforms come in Egypt, how do you see this? And we've seen statements from several entities, international entities, speaking about how this is a success, example of success for how to transform an economy.
Yes, I think we have witnessed in Egypt good accomplishments, definitely. And when it comes to economy, we went through economic reforms that were very difficult. And as we can see from the President's word today, he's greeting the Egyptian people for tolerating the toughness of these changes. And without this reform, Egypt would have suffered more, especially after two unbelievably compound and difficult
Yes.
crises, the COVID-19 and the global crisis that was caused by the Russian-Ukrainian war.
Yes. One of the main demands for both revolutions was social justice. We've seen programs initiated by the government like Haya Karima initiative and a lot of other different initiatives to try to achieve this. How far or to what extent do you think that these programs have managed to somehow create some sort of social justice, provide health care to the less privileged?
Yes, actually, these are very good steps for the entire Egyptian people. It is for the first time we can see that the government is paying concern to slums and demolishing slums and establishing new civil, well-defined life, honorable life for the citizens in these slums and everywhere in the country. The project is so huge. Yes. And also the medical treatment also. And I think this is extremely important for the Egyptian citizens. And this was ignored long time ago. So starting out these programs, and I hope will continue with all these crises, this is very important for the livelihood and for the benefit of the Egyptian citizens.
Okay, Dr. Hassan Waguih, a professor of political science at Al-Azhar University, thank you so much for joining us and telling us about the importance of the June 30th revolution. But unfortunately, we're out of time for this episode of Cairo Local Time. Stay tuned for more on Nile TV.